Hello, officials, and welcome to this week's WHSAA Football Officials Teaching Tape. This is Tyler Spear, your state coordinator of football officials. Two plays for us this week, and they cover some interesting and unique situations that we don't see a ton in our game, but are still things that I think are really important for us to have an understanding of and to mentally prepare for just in case we do see them. It's amazing what you see on a football field week to week. And now that the middle school and lower level stuff has started, you can see darn near anything at that level. And so today's two clips are meant to just help us get our heads around some interesting situations to talk about coverages and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and get started. Alrighty, this first play here, again, shout out to our friend Ed Camp for sending this clip my way. Super interesting clip here that allows us to talk about scrimmage kicks a little bit here. So as we get started, we're going to assume this is a 5-person crew instead of an 8-person crew for the sake of mechanics. So when you're watching film and you see college level coverage, the clips are still super helpful and just frame it in a way that includes the Federation mechanics. And so in this punt play here, right, we're going to say that up here, the guy on the top of the screen, this here is our, this guy here is our head linesman. So for all intents and purposes, keep that in mind. And then we'll have the person down here at the bottom being our line judge. Just so HL at the top, LJ at the bottom here. Okay. And so as we get started here, let's just remember what we're looking at here. So for our line judge, this is a 4th down play. Once we have a clear snap, you are releasing down the field. So get ourselves past a clear snap. We really don't even need you reading the tackle here like you would on normal plays. We just want you heading down the field because the back judge is all by himself back here with a kick returner or two. Obviously, all the rushing is going that way. And so anything you can do to get down there, set up shop, start looking at gunners is hugely important. But what that also means for our head linesmen here is they have the whole of the line and the expanded neutral zone, right? And so they have to make sure that that kick crosses the expanded neutral zone. And so for that reason, we want the H to really stay put until that kick has clearly gone beyond. And then it's time to move down the field appropriately to cover the next wave of coverage, be prepared for the big returns, that type of a thing, looking for headhunters, looking at the off-ball stuff. So they kind of come to things late, but that's the timing of that, right? So we're going to go ahead and do this. We'll get this play started. I've got a few angles of it, but we'll go ahead and let it go. So you have a fair catch, goes over his head. And you probably caught the end of it there, but you were also probably looking at the back judge. So let me back it up here. This time, try and keep your eyes on the punt receiver. And you can kind of see that there at the end. One more time here, we'll slow it down. So we've got our punt receiver there, and he's clearly made himself, a fair catch motion, right? And so when we have that, my drawing tool is not working. We'll go to the laser. So when we have our fair catch motion, I'm just going to let it be. There it is. We have our fair catch motion by this guy, right? We want to make sure that we know what that means for him. So obviously he's reneging his opportunity to run a return in exchange for protection, right? And so we have that. And as this play goes down, and you see this strategy a lot, it's meant to try and draw the gunners up a little bit. And then this ball bounces over his head and is headed to the end zone. Now, a couple things here that I think are important. In our mechanic, this back judge, right? Our back judge here, if it'll let me draw, maybe it won't. Our back judge here, he's going to be over shaded to the head linesman's side. Not all the way over on the sideline, of course, but shaded that direction with more of a cross-sectional view of this punt returner, right? Looking back this way at it. And so that helps him be out of the way a little bit in this situation, but it's also something where regardless of whether you're here or more off to the side, you're obviously having to get up to the money line, right? So you're bailing out on this, you're watching the football, and that leaves our dear kick returner here who actually has protection. It leaves him a little bit in the vulnerable situation, right? And so as this play goes, we have the turnaround, they're rushing, and you can see the player here run into our receiver. Evidently, I can't run the drawing tool today, guys, but you see this guy get crashed into, okay? So if we let this go, we have this. So we have this contact, and then we have a play at the end zone, right? So this is a whole lot to think about, and certainly when there's only 5 of us, okay? Here's another angle of it. And what's important here, right, is that if we stop it right here, we have a couple different people that might have a look at this accident here on our kick receiver. We have the line judge coming up the sideline. Maybe he has a cross-sectional view. The H is coming up, maybe has a view. But I think perhaps another person here that might have an opinion and would be really important to have, and this is why it's important for all of us to move together and move purposively. Our umpire here is pivoted. I think our high school umpire would too, and is trailing behind. He might also have a really good look at this, looking straight up the middle of the field from the inside out, right? And so all this to say, we have angles here that potentially somebody could see this that isn't the back judge, right? And so let me back this up and we'll let it go again. And I want you just to take a moment here as it goes and think about who's going to have eyes on this if the back judge has to leave that punt receiver here. All right, one more angle of this one here. I think this end zone view is going to be really helpful, and we'll get it stopped here. So again, our umpire might have a view through here depending on the traffic. Obviously, our wings coming in from either side may also have an opinion on this as well, right? So things to think about with this particular play. So this crew, I got the inside scoop on this. So this crew talked about this particular play, and there was no throw on it. And realistically, what they're looking at is that the contact really here was incidental, and so it was supported to not have a throw on this. I mean, you can see that it's not malicious in any way, but there's also a conversation to be had about was this player still in some way, shape, or form defenseless? Kind of a tough one here. I think it's good that we don't throw on this, but really it just begs the question. We have a punt over the receiver's head like this. Who is going to help out with that punt receiver because the back judge has to get to the money line? Something good to think about. All righty. And our next play here is a fun one. And I'll go ahead and set the stage for it here. We have 15 seconds left in the second quarter. And we have the team on offense is coming out of a timeout. And you've got, in essence, what looks to be first and goal. We'll see about down and distance here in just a minute. All righty, so we're setting up after the timeout. We have first and goal from the 9. And I'll just let this go. Okay, so we have a pick six to end the half. Don't see too many of those in our game, but when this occurred, it's quite the interesting example. And what question is begged here is when we talk about reverse mechanics, right? So we're setting up out of this first and goal. We're on the 9, so the back judge has given up the goal line to the wings, but the wings, we're shading relatively slowly here because we're still Looks like we're on the 8, but we're still a ways away from the goal line, so we don't need to bust there in a hurry. We're reading pass. Our tackle tells us. I'm going to pick on our tackle here. He's our key. And he tells us with his movement, he goes straight up into pass pro. So I think we're okay with that, right? So we're looking downfield. Our back judge, he's looking where he needs to. The wing, he's looking where he needs to on the different receivers and the traffic here in the end zone. And 10 just jumps the route, right? Now, had offense caught this, we obviously need to get to the goal line quickly so that we can make some kind of a judgment on whether he crossed into the end zone or not. I think we're okay. Again, I think staying put here makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying we should probably move here. You see everything you need to see from right where you're at, you know? And so as this play progresses, we read pass. And our friend number 10 here, he just jumps this route, does a great job. And right here is kind of our oh no moment, right? Because we are instantly having to switch our thinking from goal line into reverse mechanics. And it's just a good reminder that we should be prepared for when this happens. And so again, we are not going to outrun these athletes. So I think it's smart, just like in this situation, to stay put, let the athlete go past you, and then go ahead with trailing this play. As we pivot, we change from looking goal line. Now we're looking not at the runner, but we've got to look up at lead blocks here. Our opposite wing, our umpire, we got to start looking here. The referee is going to look at lead blocks up ahead of this return man. But we've got to start looking at those advanced blocks because this guy that just made this heck of a play is not going to foul. But you've got a couple guys changing directions. You know, referee's probably thinking about his QB1 still because he just threw the pick. What's he going to do? You want to start looking here. Maybe the umpire or the wing can get in on this as well. But we're starting to look at these people that have their heads headed the other direction. You know, first block on 10 is good. I don't see any issue there. Backside cleanup looks good. We're still looking lead blocks. And then 10 springs this. Look, we've got 9. He kind of sets this guy up. The referee is going to have a good look at that. But also the wing is right here. If he's not straight lined, has a look at that. So we're starting to look at those blocks that might spring this because we don't want to ever give up a cheap touchdown, right? This kid make a heck of a play. You want to reward him, but we also don't give up cheap touchdowns, right? And so in this situation, we're just looking at the blocks. And then as you can see, this returner, he's got a sea of teammates leading him to the end zone. So not a lot there in terms of those malicious contact hits, but that's exactly what we're looking at. I mean, this is a lot like a scrimmage kick return. We're looking for people that are going to line people up. We don't have this here, but we got to think about, all right, check off your blocks. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. Okay, the runner's in bounds, and away we go. And eventually this one ends up in the end zone. So think about your reverse mechanics. You know, back judge, you're going to be doing backside cleanup, the umpire as well. Opposite wing, you've got a great cross-sectional view through, so you want to get ahead of this as well. There's a sideline issue here that was taken care of. I just want to note that that was handled. Again, with an SW, we didn't do any kind of a interference thing. Again, unless it's egregious, let's let this thing go. But yeah, a heck of a play by this defender, and it causes us to have to pivot and go into reverse mechanics very quickly. And so we're looking backside, clean blocks, and this guy marches into the end zone as the half expires. So things to just think about in pregame as part of this and making sure that we know, okay, what does reverse mechanic look like? Who's looking where, who's covering what? So, and then again, we now have a try after the result of this play before the half ends. So hopefully that makes sense, officials. Actually, I'm going to leave you with this. We have a good end zone view of this one as well. So going to leave you with this clip. Wish you have a great week out there. A couple things to just visit with as we move into the first full week of the season. Some good looks here as well, letting the runner go past, start looking at lead blocks, and away we go when this guy marches all the way into the end zone. All right, officials, thanks for your time and have a good week out there. This is Tyler Spear, your state coordinator of football officials, signing off.